Good evening, everyone, and welcome to SCADstyle 2025 for today's In Conversation and Étoile presentation to Tory Burch. My name is Peace Bekwega, and I am an acting senior from Kampala, Uganda. Tory Burch holds many virtuous titles: entrepreneur, visionary designer, philanthropist, leader, trailblazer. For us as SCAD students, she is the definition of a role model. From the moment she launched her brand in 2004, Burch set out to build more than just a fashion label. She built a legacy grounded in authenticity, elegance, and empowerment. Through her designs, she has crafted not only beautiful pieces, but also a sense of assurance for those who wear them. Whether it's a signature handbag, a pair of shoes, or an entire outfit, wearing Tory Burch is a statement of confidence and individuality. And through all her success, she's worked tirelessly for the success of others. She has championed women's entrepreneurship and economic empowerment through the Tory Burch Foundation, providing invaluable resources, mentorship, and access to capital for women to grow their businesses and create lasting change. 21 years of brilliance later, Burch is in the midst of what many are calling the Tory Renaissance. She has reinvigorated her brand with edgy, elevated designs, attracting a whole new generation of fashion and style lovers, all while continuing her commitment to unparalleled craftsmanship and staying true to herself. Let's take a look at some of Burch's most iconic moments and creations.
My design philosophy is simple. Clothes should be beautiful and effortless. There are no rules around what women can and cannot wear. I wanted to start a global lifestyle brand so I could start a foundation for women.
Ambition is feminine.
Is empowering.
Ambition is not a dirty word.
Ambition, sexy.
In 2009, we started our foundation, and that supports women entrepreneurs through low-interest loans, through education.
New York style setter Tory Burch is being hailed as the next big thing in fashion.
This is our girl, Tory Burch.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Explain the Tory Renaissance.
She's having a moment, and she earned all those moments.
Please welcome SCAD Étoile Award honoree Tory Burch and SCAD President and founder Paula Wallace.
Thank you. Wow, being here, Paula, thank you, first of all, more than anyone. I am so blown away by what I have seen today. I said, I think it's the best visit I have ever had, hands down. So thank you for this incredible honor. I just want to thank Paula again, and Carrie, and my very dear friend Stefano for this. Stefano has been talking to me for a very long time about SCAD and is an incredible ambassador for all of you, but I don't think anyone could talk about it and really understand what's happening here until you really come. And just, it's palpable, the energy, the positivity. I said at lunch, people are just happy, and it's coming from within. So I am so proud to get this honor, and thank you very, very much.
Congratulations, Tory Burch. We love you, and it's an honor to learn from you today. Moderating today's conversation is a true legend of fashion journalism, Stefano Tonchi. He's an accomplished author, curator, and the former editor-in-chief of W, creator and editor-in-chief of T, the New York Times style magazine, and fashion creative director for Esquire. Please welcome to the stage Stefano Tonchi, and welcome back Tory Burch.
Wow, what a moment here. I finally got Tory to come to SCAD. I feel really, really, really like that I really accomplished something. But I have to say I know Corey for so many years. I've been, a great admirer of what she has done. But somehow me, like probably many of you here, has always wondered, how can she be so perfect? And I never had the courage to ask her privately, so I want to do it with a large audience. So that
I'm really happy I didn't see these
special.
questions beforehand. I just said to Stefano, oh, come on, perfect sounds super boring, so I really hope that's not. It's maybe a perfectionist and constantly striving. Stefano, you've been to my home, so you know how imperfect 3 boys and what homes look like. So,
well, not really. I've seen you on the court, on the tennis court. Perfect. Nothing moves. I've seen all her houses, and everything is like perfection. We are just talking about flower decorating and the art of making a beautiful table, and sure, like the great success in her personal and business. What is the force that drives you? I mean, what gives you that balance in life that I think shows in your work, shows in your life? You always are very calm.
Okay, the calm, I do agree. When things get tough, I get more focused. And I have to say where that came from is my father, who was just, I used to check to see if he had a pulse sometimes because he was so calm. And my mother is the exact opposite, so the contrast was always very, very clear. But I think, what drives me, I think, ever since I can remember, I've wanted to give back to, I went on a program in college and went to different places around the world, and there's something, even from when I was little to that I've wanted to give back. So when I thought about starting a company after a career that I had, that was one of the things that I really thought would be a North Star, is how do you make business and giving back a thing. And it was very different 20 years ago. People didn't talk about it, but I'm curious as a person. So I think that with that, I'm constantly interested in understanding things, and maybe that's part of my drive, but I've always had it.
Well, that's exceptional. And, last year you kind of celebrated 20 years of your brand. And it was a very, very important year for many reasons, I think. Not only because of that important celebration, but really because you decided to keep moving, and you're probably doing some of your best work so far. It's incredible how you made these decisions. So without talking about the past, I want to talk about the future, because it looks like you're moving fast and you're moving forward. So let's go this way. Let's talk about the future. Where do you see Tory Burch in 10 years? Where do you see yourself? Where do you see the brand Tory Burch?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm glad you didn't say 20 years, because I thought that's what it was. It's hard to think about increments of 10 and 20 years, but I think what's the same about our company for the last 20 years is that is the culture, is the emotion, and hopefully the meaning behind it. And I hope that long after me, that we've built something that stands for something, and that is honesty, respect, great work, treating people well, and having an environment that really practices what we preach. I always say it's very easy to speak about culture, and it's a different thing to get people to adhere to it and believe in it. And it's not just a top-down thing. I think when you hire people, it's something that we truly believe in. And I think that you can see that here. So there's definitely a synergy there. But I hope in 10 years from now that we're continuing to innovate, reinvent, because I'm always interested in that, pushing creativity and also keeping our values, because that's super important and what makes us, I think, very special.
But this energy, did you always have it? I mean, how much, you said your parents were so important, but I think there is some kind of talent, some kind of drive that was there from the beginning. I'm always interested and ask, was it nature or nurture? What do you think has been like so important to your life and so important for your success?
Yeah, I mean, I did see that. I thought a lot about that. I think you are born with certain things, and character is something that you're born with, and you see it. And I have identical twin boys. They have the same DNA. They are so different, and it's just so interesting. And I saw that when they were very little. And so I've always had, and I grew up with 3 brothers, so I've always had a bit of toughness. And I've had drive from a very early time. So I believe in a bit of both, but I think, it's how you take the attributes that you're born with and what you do with them and how you make them shine or not. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, we have talked, many people say, oh, Tory is a very fortunate person,
Fortunate?
Fortunate, very lucky, and I always say, well, how would you define, I define luck as the capacity to take an opportunity that we all have in front of us and make something special out of it. So do you consider yourself lucky? Yeah,
so I'm really superstitious, so I don't even want to say that. And I do feel very fortunate, but I will say 20 years of exceedingly hard work is sort of also part of why we are where we are. I think I've spent 20 years with working 12 to 14-hour days and being relentless, but loving it. And one thing I want to say to all of you, like if you can find something that you love to do, you don't really care how long it takes and how much you work, because it doesn't feel like work in the end. So
yeah, I mean, when you started, you didn't have in front of you, you didn't know exactly what would be the future, or what would be like, did you have a blueprint of what your company would be? I mean,
no, I had an idea. I had no idea what I was talking about. I hear myself, I think about what I said sometimes back then, and I'm kind of just mortified of some of the things I said. I said I wanted to build a global lifestyle brand so I could start a foundation. I did not know what that would entail, and being an entrepreneur.
That was,
no,
really
but
strong commitment.
I said that.
I
don't know why I had the gall to say that.
Can you repeat, please?
No, I had the gall. I did have this vision that I kept thinking purpose and business go together. I remember raising money for our company, and I was told very concretely never to say those two things in the same sentence. And it was almost as if they were patting me on the back. A couple men I visited them, not too long ago to get a check for our foundation. But they said never, ever mention that in the same sentence. And, for me, it's good for the bottom line. If I wanted to put it in terms of terms that people understand, like it's good for the bottom line to have something more to what you're doing and having a purpose. Women inspire me, all kinds of women. So when I think about women, they are the answer, and I truly believe that. And I'm not saying it just because of where we are today, but I think that they are the answer with men as our allies. I want to preface it. I don't think it's just women, but so I don't know where I'm going with that, but I'm sorry.
Keep going.
No, I'm not going to keep rambling.
Well, no, I mean, my next question really is about you as a woman and you as a brand. There are so few people that at this moment in time can have their names on the label on the label of the clothes they create, on the label clothes they wear. You know, it's become really, really difficult to find. And what is there a total identification between who you are as a woman and your taste and your choices as, like, not only as a businesswoman, but as a designer, somebody that has to think about the people you want to dress that are not necessarily like you. So where Tory starts and where Tory...
No, I ask myself that question all the time. Where do I start and where do I end? No, I don't know. That's a very hard thing to separate. First of all, when I started the company, I didn't want to use my name, so I didn't. And it was a terrible name. And I was telling Stefano at lunch, there was a jewelry designer named Kenny J. Lane who was really cool. He was
fantastic.
And so
really
he took me to lunch.
Was one of my first interviews that I had to do for Italian Vogue when I arrived to New York. That was
he had a lot of personality, right?
A lot of personality. We went into his townhouse down on
so you listened
Park Avenue.
To
yes,
what he said,
absolutely.
because he had perfect
opinions,
style, and he was just funny. And he took me to lunch and he said, "You have a great company that has the worst name I have ever heard." And this was 2 years in, and I literally changed the name because of Kenny. That's when I went to my name. But I think for so long, I wanted to maintain a very sort of concrete distance between the company and me, because I was raising 3 boys. I was for a while a single mom, and I wanted to protect, and I have 3 stepdaughters, so I wanted to protect 6 kids, and I sort of kept it at bay. And then over the years, and they've grown up, and certainly with my husband, Pierre-Yves, coming on board and changing my role, which used to be the CEO, and designer, but I spent probably 20% of my time on the creative process. And when Pierre-Yves came on board, it's sort of a little like I'm more apt to be, I guess, more vulnerable, And I sort of wanted to really not show any part of me. So there was like the brand, and then there was like the perception of me because of the brand, but I think there's perception and reality. And I think me as a person, I think, might have a sense of humor, and not that our brand doesn't, but, it's a company. So
I think
it's a little weird talking about like that.
I think there is a lot of identification.
I'd have to ask you that.
Between you and the brand. And actually what is interesting is that the brand has evolved with you. Sometimes, you didn't even realize, but
well, I think it's part of me. It has to be, right?
Looking at you and what you wear.
Oh, really?
I know what you used to wear.
Oh,
that is
God,
different from
Stefano,
what you
what
wear
did I
now.
wear?
Oh. No, but I think, when you start the brand, you really were also representing a certain Tory in time. It was a certain kind of, love for a set of values set by your family, a certain kind of refined taste, sometimes a little bit nostalgic. And
I really don't know what that means. I'm thinking of all the don'ts that I did.
No, I mean, and the brand had that spirit,
Yeah.
very American, very and as time passed by, and sure, there were moments that you were thinking more about the product than the design, and we will talk about that. But really, you also change. You're wearing clothes that are very different from those. You are thinking in a very different way in terms of design and quality of the clothes. And also you have been showing on the runway in the last at least 3-4 collections, things that are, I think, so forward, so interesting in the American market. It's been really a great change. But it's you too that have changed with it. It's not just the clothes.
I do feel like it's still me, and it's still what I don't think it's terribly different. I think there's a lot of sides to women, and we all have different ways of expressing ourselves. I think that I never had the time to dedicate to the creative process that I did for the last 4 years. Since COVID, essentially, it gave me the time.
It's almost like those 2 years of pause gave you, I would say, the strength to make some important decisions one of them is like to leave like the CEO position to Pierre-Yves or to somebody else. I mean, it happened to be a good person that we all love, but you know, that
it wasn't just anyone. I mean, I wouldn't have just said.
That was an important decision. That was an important decision.
Yeah, that was
that
a
you
very.
made. But it happened around that time.
It happened at the exact same time, and it wasn't by accident. I think it's impossible to be the creative head and run the business at the scale of where our business was. And it wasn't smart for the business. So I needed to find a CEO. I had to marry him to get him to do it. But
we all know about that.
I know. Actually, Stefano was there the very first day.
I know. I think I'm probably one of the few people that knew Pierre-Yves quite well.
Yes.
In Paris, we had like a recurring lunch, and he's the one that was, I met this American girl. She's very interesting. And then on the other side of the ocean, I would go out with Tory, and she said, there is this French guy.
You didn't tell me he said that.
So, yes, that was kind of a very special moment, I think, in your personal life that became also, again, part of your public life and your Tory Burch story as a brand. That's very interesting too. Going back that, I think you are the image of the brand, and you really are the image of the modern American woman. That's where I want to go. I want to say like how I see you, you know, in the company of some of the great icons of America. When I think about CZ Guest, I think about designers and film directors, and I see you in that position representing a woman that is really taking kind of control of her image and had the power and the strength to take it public. So where that force came, I mean, you think that it was well, we said it was something that you always had.
No, I mean, I also would credit my mother for that. I think, you know, also learning and growing with our business and feeling a level of confidence today that I absolutely did not have. I could barely call myself a designer in the beginning because I didn't feel like one. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the experience to run a business either. So I think I've gained the experience by trial and error and learning on the job. So I think I'm more confident today that I can feel that I can own where I am in my life. And you know, I think that that's part of what we all go through in life, is growing up and feeling more comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, and I have that courage. I think you had, you know, courage to start your own company. You had courage to kind of let your position of CEO and give that power to somebody else. Make the decision that you wanted to take the company forward and design in a different way. You are a person that takes risk.
I mean, I did.
Are you ever afraid?
I like risk. Actually, I laugh because my brother's here, and he's the opposite of me from a risk-taking standpoint. He's like, I call him Mr. Legal. He's helped me build the company. He's done much more than the legal part of it. But anytime I'm pushing forward, and I make decisions very quickly, and Pierre-Yves is probably in Robert's camp of being more methodical and thoughtful. But Robert is I take a lot of risk, but I don't ever risk the business. Like, that's the difference. Like, I've always been measured about how I look at it. So, I think my mother, I hear, like, growing up, whenever I had self-doubt, she would say, "You're Tory Robinson. Don't you know who you are, and believe in yourself?" And, so I think that it comes from something. I definitely think I've had courage, and maybe growing up with 3 brothers and being battered on a tennis court, that's part of it. I just think things happen along the way. It wasn't always easy. I spent, the last 20 years, I had a very public divorce with my ex-husband. We're actually friends now, but to go through that with 6 children in such a a terrible way. I never wanted my family to be in the paper, and it was all over every paper, 2 Vanity Fair articles, and I'm trying to build this business and raise 3 boys. It was very tough. So I think, that gives you courage. And, when you have certain things happen in your life, like for me, if I can go through anything as long as it's not, someone getting sick, and that's where a lot more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, and you are not afraid that something that, especially in the American society, and I look at it like you have never been afraid to take political decisions and to stand for your principle. It's something that, I really, really admire because it's very rare, especially when you are at the head of such an important company that has a certain revenue, a certain position, is a publicly traded company. Do you think that having political opinion is something that can help business?
I mean, we're a private company, so I'll start with that. No, it's okay. I just want to preface that because I do think probably just, I'm not in a public company right now, so I'm not sure what that experience is, but I think the way I look at it is that we have close to 6,000 employees, and a lot of them have different viewpoints and think differently. So the way I sort of measure what I weigh in on is it's around humanity, and I have no problem about standing up when I think about humanity. I try to stay away from politics per se. It's obviously harder and harder these days, but I don't think there's any use in me getting up and alienating part of our own team, much less our customers, just to say something that might not have any effect. But I do think you have to live your values, and I do live our values, and I think our team appreciates that. I was just recently in Orlando with Christoph, and he organized 350 store managers from around the world to come. And we talked about what's going on, and I think inclusivity and supporting women and diversity is beautiful. To me, that's what makes our company special. It's what makes America special, and that's something I could never, shy away from just as a person, because that's also I think diversity in thought is critical for business. So it goes so far beyond that. So, for me, I try to stay away from politics, but I focus on humanity.
Well put. Well put. I want to go back to fashion for a minute and talk about, the kind of creative process that you went through for the most recent collection. Because I think, some people wrote that you moved away from product-driven kind of, from a you moved away from being a product-driven company and become a design-driven company. For sure, the runway was very different as a production and also as the clothes that were presented. And how have you been, how that happened? And also, what is your creative process at this point in life, at this point in your working life?
I mean, it goes back to sort of thinking about how you feel and what's happening in the zeitgeist and around you. And it's really, for me, like when I said 5 years ago when I took the reins of the creative process, and that's all I do is the creative process now, I wanted to be proud of everything we do. So I systematically went through everything that we offered, from our very opening price points to our show, and rethought things. But I also didn't want to alienate our core customer. But our customer is very...
Well, she evolved with you.
Yeah, we have a very different customer. We have so many different kinds of women wearing our clothing, so many different ages. We have a much younger customer. We have women uptown, downtown, from all kinds of countries. So it's just, if I focused on that, that might take away from my creative process. So what I try to focus on is craft and quality and beautiful things that will last. I'm not obsessed with trend, and that's kind of where I start. But I do want to instill, if a woman could look powerful in our clothes and feel confident, that's my starting point. And so I hope you're seeing that. I think I hear that when women wear our clothing. And I think that people, once we design a collection, it's no longer ours. I'm so on to the next collection. What it is someone else's when they buy it, and then how they interpret it and how they put it together. So I see women wearing it in so many different ways. And that's what excites me, because I want to be a problem solver for women, to have options. And I say women, but men are wearing our clothes too. So Stefano, I want to see you in a couple things. But it's
there were a couple of things that I like.
But no, I think I'm on this journey, but I don't want you to think that I'm saying let's just go away from who we are and where we were, because that's not the case, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm also, that's still very much part of what I think about. And
no, you brought, because you didn't renegade anything of the past. I mean, some of those products that
I love caftans. I
love
love a tunic
from the beginning, and the shoes and the bags. And
but
like
I also didn't have any knowledge about design back then. So now I actually do have knowledge about design. So I'm pushing myself. It's not always going to work, but I want to take risk and I want to try things. And then you sort of find your way. I don't think it's like such a conscious thing, oh, I want to be more conceptual. In fact, what I say to our team is I don't want to be tricky. I want to do things that women can relate to and wear for a very long time, and not say this was last year. I actually think about having a collection where it doesn't have a date, where you can't say that looks like the 60s or 70s or now. I kind of want it to be something that you will covet and keep.
And there is something to say about also what is product. I think a product can have incredible quality, especially when has incredible craft. And I think it's been a very important discovery process, I think, for the company and for you personally. The strong interest that you put in the craft, in the quality of each element, and the quality of the making of it.
I mean, and Pierre-Yves has really helped me with that. Before, we didn't have an atelier, so it was a very different design process. Having an atelier has changed everything, because I'm actually going upstairs, working on draping garments and working with the team. We have a handbag little salon in Brooklyn where we're making salvas. So it's a very different time for our company, where we can actually get into the idea of craft and execution and precision, and that's kind of really interesting. I would love our customer to also get a product that they think is super qualitative, but also surprised by the price point, not feeling like it's just outrageous. And I think no matter how much money someone has, it's just not, for me anyway, the way I look at it, it's not interesting to just pay $10,000 for a handbag or $3,000. I think people have a lot that they want to be spending that on. So how can we push our craft and creativity, and also try to give it to our customer for the best price we possibly can?
Yeah, and I think also sometimes there is a lot of, I would say, people like to compare, like, as we said, a design company versus a product company, a designer that just design, and then you have a person that only takes care of the product. We have played this game a lot, especially in Europe. I come from, an Italian background, and Italian fashion has always been considered product-driven more than design-driven. But, it takes a lot of design to put out a good product. That's kind of the truth here. So what you are saying is it's so important that you have to deliver first and all in a product, and that product has to be well designed, and it must have a real craft that define the value of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I often talk to our team and I'll say, we can be as creative as we possibly can be. If no one is going to buy it, it's not interesting. So how do we push the creativity and make it covetable, and where women want to wear it and feel like they're not looking like everyone else, that it has personality and is a bit eccentric, but it isn't just for the creative aspect of it. I like the idea of building a business. So for me, it's always a balance of that. But yeah.
Well, let's go back to your work with the foundation. Was that, as you said, it was something that from the beginning was part of your vision? Because from the first moment when you started the company, you saw women treated differently than men, especially in the business environment. And you made a decision to make a change there, or to help women to make a change. How happy are you about what has been done so far with your foundation? What are the plans for it?
Yeah, so we launched the company in 2004, and with the idea of the foundation from the very beginning. That said, I knew that I'd have to have a successful company before I could do that. We didn't have the money to do that. And so I was very careful for many years. When we launched in 2009, I didn't know what the foundation would be. I did a lot of research. I went to places like Haiti. I met with Milan Verveer in Washington to sort of think like what I knew was about women and children, but I didn't know how I would approach that. And what I realized is that women do have a more difficult time in business. There isn't an equality on many levels, whether it's pay or the way they're treated, or having a baby is a big, and I had that for myself. I had to not continue my job at Loewe because I had got pregnant with my third son, so I had 3 babies under the age of 4, and it was just impossible to do both. So I saw the challenges that women faced. So I knew that would become my focus, is how do we create an environment where women can do both? And someone mentioned today, life-work balance, it doesn't happen. I kind of agree. It is, sometimes you just have to give some things up, or you can try to figure out, what you are giving up and make both work. But it's like, for me, I wanted to be the best mom I could ever be. So that was my number one priority. So I had to give up a career for little. It was during that time, again, thinking about the foundation, that I saw a lot of women were facing that. So that was part of it. But it's kind of how I approach sustainability. I wanted real impact and scale and real things before I talked about it. And so with the foundation, we started in 2009, and it took me about 10 years of work until we spoke about it in a big way externally. And so I'm really proud to be one of the number one resource for women in the United States. And that's something that I say in such a careful but very confident way. I would never have said any of that until I saw the work really get executed, because I never wanted it to be used as marketing in any way. And so, I think that it's very exciting. We do the work. We have a team of 12 people. We have a fellowship program. We partner with Bank of America. We have all these initiatives. One thing I'm obsessed with is how do we create a network for women. It's almost like a LinkedIn for women, where they can access each other, have peer-to-peer mentoring, help each other's businesses. So that's something that we are striving for, and giving women financial independence. That's now our goal. I used to talk about women's empowerment, and what I learned is that women have the power. It's within them, and we're not bestowing anything on women. We are trying to make them have an easier time to access their own power and help them be financially independent. And that's something that men relate to too. I always say, the men that I talk to a lot, that I get the most feedback from, are fathers about their daughters, and they don't want to feel that their daughters are marginalized. And it goes. So for me, now we're ready to really scale our work, and that's where we are today.
Yeah, and you have. And you have talked a lot about how, role models have been missed, like especially in business, and how important it is to tell those stories, like your story. Also the work that you're doing in Washington, creating, kind of telling those stories that has not been told.
So we're working on, I'm part of the board of the Smithsonian Women's Museum. And so we're working on establishing a museum for women. And when you think about all the women in America throughout history that have not been acknowledged, and think about the things that they've accomplished, and they're part of, obviously, the fabric of America. So that's what our focus will be. It's going to take, when I first joined the board, they said it will take 10 years. So that's kind of a project that's like, whoa, you want instant gratification. It's obviously a very long process. We want to get a building on the mall, and I'm very excited about it, because when I was growing up, I had my mother, I remember my mother, I think I was, very young, telling stories about getting a credit card in her own name. And my mom is a firecracker, and she was not happy that she had to ask my dad to get a credit card in her name. So it was such a big deal. I remember her not having so many role models. She should have been an incredible architect. She could have been so many things, but she didn't have the opportunities to do that. So, like, to be able to highlight and show the women's stories and have a place where people can really see it to be it,
where
as
we
Billie
can
Jean
send
King
our
says.
daughters.
And we can send our daughters. But yeah, I was just saying earlier to Paula, Billie Jean King has a statement where she says you have to see it to be it. So to be able to see it and see the possibilities is what we're going to do. So it's very exciting.
Well, that's a beautiful project, and I hope that we can all help.
We just have to get it passed through Congress. So if anyone's had any good ideas on that, it will come.
So tell me 3 qualities that you admire in men and women, or women and men.
Okay, so I don't want to be like men and women separate. Like, that's why I keep saying we need men to be part of. But I think if I had to think of 3 qualities, I think empathy is probably the biggest thing that I would admire in someone. And it's not a given. Oh gosh, I don't know. Empathy,
I think
humor.
You said curiosity.
Curiosity, thank you.
I know, because we have talked about it before. And I agree with you, curiosity is a very underestimated qualities that, that thing that, I don't know, I'm very curious myself. I love, it's what drives me, I never would stay in bed 1 hour more missing a museum that is the farthest part of town. I want to go and see it, and so on. I mean, do I see a lot of bad museums? Yes. Do I see a lot of bad movies? Yes. But curiosity drives you, and sometimes it's really sometimes you want to see what you should not do. So even bad experience can become actually very constructive for the future. So curiosity, empathy, I agree with you. Let's add
Empathy,
the third one.
Okay, humor has to be on my list.
Well,
because you have to be able to.
So I'll tell you something. Last night, Tory sent me a text message around 10:30 saying, "Oh, we missed the plane." So
I didn't think he was going to call everyone at SCAD.
So that's what I did. Tory may not be here tomorrow.
My best friend is here laughing because she knows my humor very well.
And then a little later
stand
was
up.
April Fool! Yes, I think you always have been, had a lot of
humor
irony.
comes.
I think it helps to navigate life, absolutely.
Well, I think there's a lot of, rough things that happen in life. So you have to find a source of humor and joy, and you have to look for that. And
you need music.
I love music.
That's something else that I've seen Tory, dancing with DJs and
in bad
Tory
outfits apparently.
going to a lot of live concert, and she always talked about music.
I
also
do love music. I have to say,
I'm in love with music. So
my children. I used to play music. Now they're saying they taught me about music, but I definitely taught them about music. But I went to a Rolling Stones concert recently, and I've seen the Stones, I don't know how many times over the years, starting in high school.
Lucky Tory.
Okay, but I have never seen someone, it was the best concert I have ever seen, and he's 80-some years old, acting like he was 20. It was amazing. Like, music can change the world, too. I love music.
What are you listening to these days?
I
What
said that to
kind of-
my
what
team,
genre?
and she's like,
What
"Don't
genre?
date yourself." That's like, so.
What genre?
I like all genres. People laugh because I really love rap music, and they don't think of me as loving rap music. I love it.
That's where I saw Tory.
I do. I love Tupac. I love Patsy Cline. I love so many different kinds of music. I'm just trying to think what I don't like. But I maybe won't say that for anyone. What are you listening to, Stefano?
Oh, these days?
He's a Swiftie.
I'm listening to a lot of pop music because my daughters, have only pop music on the.
Yeah.
Also, all these songs that I never would listen to,
Well, it's fun
like,
discovering new
14 years
artists.
old, yes.
Frances, who's on my team, I was listening to her daughter Diva, and she's come out with 2 incredible new songs. I mean, she's 24 years old, and you listen, and it's Diva Smith, if anyone wanted to know that. But she is, it's breathtaking, and I love discovering new music. It's really, really wonderful.
And you have people around you that I think have always been very interested in music. And I was talking about your sons. I remember
my grandmother was the first female orchestra leader, and she played a violin. And so back then in the 20s and 30s, she came with all her brothers and sisters. They were musicians. My cousins were opera singers. So we have a lot of music and in our family, but I miss that.
Well, what would be the
gene.
soundtrack for a biopic on Tory that is coming,
That's
by the way?
I
forgot to tell you that.
What? For me?
Biopic, yeah, I'm sure, yes.
No,
we are.
no plans.
No, well, that's my April 2nd fool.
Well, I don't know which songs represent.
What do you think would be a good one?
That's so loaded, that question. What's yours?
Oh, God. I would go to the Style Council.
You go where?
To the Style Council.
Okay, I'll go to Just Like Heaven. Just Like Heaven, The Cure. That's probably my favorite song of all time.
That's a good one. What would you say to a 19 years old Tory that is leaving Pennsylvania to go to New York, and to the many girls that really admire what you do and want to be like you?
Well, okay, there's probably a lot of things I would say. I say to my boys, a gentleman is not a part-time job, and that means be who you are and be authentic. And I believe in treating people well, no matter who they are. So for me, that's one of the real cornerstones of our company. I would say negativity is noise, and tune it out. And don't let people put you in a box, because that did happen to me. There's this perception of who you are and what you should be doing, and I think never let that happen, because you don't have to. I think the bottom line is you can control your own destiny.
And your story. And make
and your story. And you should be your own author and write your own story. Well, don't let other people write it for you.
That's a fantastic way to kind of leave you with. Tell your own story, write your own story. Don't be, don't take no.
Don't take no, and I would say to all of you, being at a school like this, it didn't exist when I was in school. I went to Penn, which was a wonderful school, but this is such a special place that, and I'm just learning about it. I've heard about it from Stefano for years, but to be able to express yourself from being an equestrian to knitting sweaters, it's just amazing. I'm just so blown away. So thank you all for having me and my enormous team. I showed up with 15 people, and they're like, who are all these people?
Well, thank you, Tory, for sharing so many personal stories, some being so inspirational, I think, to all of us, not only
and
the
to my new
students.
hero over here, Paula. Thank
Paula.
you. Really. No, hearing Paula's stories at lunch, it was just inspiring, and saying that she wanted to have a fashion museum and people sort of questioning it, like Carrie, and then maybe, was it you, Carrie? Yeah, no, whoever, but no, it wasn't you, Carrie. Someone was saying, it was you, that all of a sudden she had one year later. I mean, that's incredible. So I like having an idea and having the courage to get it done. So thank you for paving the way.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of this great SCADstyle week. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tory and Stefano. It has been a pleasure to listen and learn from you today. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Please join us tonight for the opening of 2 new exhibits at the SCAD Fashion Museum of Fashion and Film. You don't want to miss it, okay? I'll be looking for y'all. All right, take care.